Police Minister Bheki Cele says over 7,000 officers have been charged with with various serious crimes between 2018 and 2023. Of these, 686, we're told, have been convicted. These crimes include murder, rape, and cash-in-transit heists. For more on this, let's get your reaction from Lesiba Thobakgale, who's a spokesperson of the South African Police Union and joins us via our video link this morning. Great to see you, sir. Thanks very much indeed for making time once again for the AM report. You know, I imagine many people will hear these statistics and it'll bring to mind for them that saying around who guards the guardians. You know, something like this certainly won't do any good to the trust deficit that it really exists between police and the public.
Ayanda, for having us this morning. Yeah, it remains to be a concern to say the statistics, they seem to suggest that there are some officers who happen to be involved in what they are not supposed to be involved in. Because when one remembers the oath that the police have taken, it is clear that they need to protect the inhabitants of the Republic and their property. And of course, there will be some elements that would really not abide with the law. Our principle as SAPU is that we do not promote any form of criminality, being it by the members of society or even by police officers themselves, because everyone has to abide by the rule of law which is applicable within the Republic of South Africa. And further to that, where there happen to be cases, Ayanda, which clearly shows that our members are found to be wanting, we really say that they should be investigated thereof, and the outcome thereof is what we will accept as a union, because everyone has to abide by the law. But we also need to guard against, where you find that we happen to make ourselves to be like we are the courts, to judge members based on the reports that are not yet finalized in terms of investigations, or being it criminal convictions or criminal court outcomes, being it disciplinary, which are internal disciplinary steps being taken against them, not being finalized, but processes unfold to deal with such cases.
Absolutely. Where do you reckon things are going wrong, Lesiba? I mean, is it just bad apples, or are there perhaps weaknesses in the system that, I don't know, make it easier for people who are tempted to take advantage of the system and commit crimes?
Everyone who joins the South African Police Services, there is an oath that one takes, Ayanda, and that oath, it is clear that one will abide by all the laws of the country, and they have to uphold the Constitution and make sure that they become the protectors. We, as regarding it, as SAPU, we are regarding such as bad apples, because it is not majority of the members who happen to have allegations or who gets to be convicted of criminal cases that are found, against them. So we cannot just put a blanket approach to say that they happen to be any other reason. What we are seeing as a reason is that in every department, like where you're dealing with safety and security, there may happen to be bad apples. And when bad apples are there, you isolate them, you deal with those bad apples, and you remain with all the good apples that are there within your basket, so you can keep on doing your work to serve and to protect.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose what's more difficult here is that even though it's not the majority, 7,000 is certainly not a figure to be scoffed at. And it's not just of anybody, right? It's people who have an understanding of the law, and more than that, who've been given the responsibility of safeguarding the law. This is why there are calls already that perhaps it's time for us to consider that police officers who are found to have breached the law actually get harsher sentences because of their unique positionality. Is that something that you as a union would support?
When we are talking about the issues of bad apples, the numbers, yes, 7,000 cases, but I heard you were mentioning few numbers that have been convicted or the cases have been finalized. I think if we then happen to have a report that clearly speaks to say out of the 7,000, how many are clearly convicted, then that is when one could be able to gauge to say on how bad is it looking. But on its own, a police officer is not supposed to be found wanting when it comes to issues that are against the law. And when it comes to a call to say police officers should face harsher sentences, I think our principle when it comes to that, Ayanda, if what remains to be an issue to us, the issue of police killings, which on its own, those who are found guilty of it are not yet even found to be given harsher sentences. I think the current law, the prescripts, they give a prescription in terms of the Criminal Procedure Act to say what sentences are applicable to those who are found guilty of any offences, unless if then the law happens to change, even when it comes to issues that police officers are found to be wanting in such criminal cases thereof. But there's just quite a whole lot of issues that are involved here. We are dealing with the bad apples on the other side. On the other side, we are dealing with where we are losing the good apples who are doing their work and they get killed on their line of duty or even when they are off duty being targeted.
Okay, I'm worried we might be conflating issues, Lesiba. So let's have a clear distinction. I think there's certainly a space to have a conversation about people who are killing police officers. In fact, we had you on this platform to speak about exactly that. The question I'm asking is for people who are on the other side of the law, in a way of speaking, you know. And I feel like my question is largely unanswered. Does the union support those who are calling for police officers who have been found guilty in a court of law to possibly face harsher sentences because of the responsibility that they carried in society?
When we speak of harsher sentences, to answer you, Ayanda, is where would that find expression in terms of the Criminal Procedure Act? Because the judges or the judiciary, being its magistrates, they follow the prescripts of the current Criminal Procedure Act to say which sentences are applicable to what types of crimes that have been convicted. And that remains to be the discretion further of whoever is presiding over those cases to say what sentences are applicable in terms of those who are found guilty, even being police officers or just members of the society. I think this is something that has to do with the applicability of the law or what the law is saying when it comes to such. But it has to be clear from our side that we condemn any form of criminality, being it by police officers or anyone, because we all have to abide by the rule of law.
Would you agree with this in principle, though?
Anything that is there to discourage anyone from not partaking in criminal activities, as SAP, we remain to be committed to it. Anything that discourages, that makes sure that no one should look and say that tomorrow they get involved in criminal activities. We'll give support to that. But at the end of the day, what happens to be high, it is the issue of what the law is saying, the provisions of the law. That is what becomes applicable.
Is that a yes?
And I think through the answer that we have given clearly is that we give support. I think making it clearer, we are giving support to say that anything that discourages anyone from participating in criminal activities, being the members of the society, because the law applies to everyone. Remember, the rule of law is applicable to myself and even to yourself, seated in the studio in the very same way. So anything that will discourage, whether being it a police officer or being it a public servant, being it a member of the society, not to participate in criminal activities, we will give it support. And everything that rests on the hands of the law, based on what the judiciary will find applicable, because there's specific charges which are aligned with specific convictions. So that remains to be applicable. It is not us who can go and then prescribe in a certain way, because what the law is saying in terms of the charges and the convictions, it is what is applicable through the CPA or the Criminal Procedure Act.
All right. I'll leave it to our viewers to decide what they make of that response. Lesiba, Thobakgale, thanks very much indeed for your time.